Hello, and welcome to First United Methodist Church, Mason City, Iowa, and our first hymn time of the new year, 2021. Today is January 6th, which in the Christian world is Epiphany, marking the arrival of the Magi at the manger scene to see Jesus. And so today we have to do We Three Kings. So I'd like to give you a background on that hymn. From Matthew 2, verse 1. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. Strange but true, a visit from St. Nicholas paved the way for We Three Kings. It happened like this. After the War of 1812, Anglicans in America decided to establish their own seminary for training Episcopalian ministers. The proposal was first made in 1814, and in 1817 the Episcopalian General Convention voted to locate the school in New York City. But where in New York? Clement Clark Moore, son of New York's Episcopalian bishop, was an up-and-coming land developer. He had recently become well known because of a poem he had written which began, "'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." The popularity of his poem, reportedly written following a sleigh ride home from Greenwich Village, made his name a household word. The fame and increased income made him a more generous and sought-after layman. Moore owned a large estate in the undeveloped northern regions of Manhattan. He referred to it as a quiet rural retreat on the picturesque banks of the Hudson. Hearing that the Episcopalians needed land for their seminary, he offered a portion of his estate, and thus was born General Theological Seminary. Moore, also a linguist and Hebrew scholar, became one of General's first professors, teaching biblical languages. Some years later, a reporter named John H. Hopkins, Jr., enrolled in this seminary. Born in Pittsburgh, Hopkins had matriculated at the University of Vermont before moving to New York to pursue legal studies. But he fell in love with the Lord's work, enrolled in general, and graduated from the seminary in 1850. In 1855, he was hired as the school's first instructor of church music. Hopkins wrote We Three Kings as part of a Christmas pageant produced by General Theological Seminary in 1857. In 1863, it was published in his Carols, Hymns, and Songs. This hymnal went through 3 editions by 1882, establishing Hopkins as a leader in Episcopalian hymnody. He wrote other hymns, but most have fallen into obscurity. We Three Kings was his crowning achievement, made possible in a way through the generosity of another poet whose most famous work ends, "But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." In looking more deeply into the words of We Three Kings, everyone knows that the wise men brought gifts, but what was the significance of those gifts? Gold was a gift for a king, and we read the second verse. "Born a king on Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again, king forever, ceasing never, over us all to reign." Frankincense was brought by priests as they worshiped in God in the temple. So verse 3, frankincense to offer have I. Incense owns a deity nigh. Prayer and praising, all men raising, worship him, God on high. Myrrh was a spice used in burial. So verse 4, myrrh is mine, its bitter perfume, breathes a life of gathering gloom, sorrowing, sighing, bleeding, dying, sealed in the stone-cold tomb. And verse 5, glorious now, behold him arise, King and God in sacrifice. Alleluia, alleluia, earth to heaven replies. The hymn writer clearly spells out this in verses 2, 3, and 4. How then are we to approach the babe of Bethlehem? The wise men honor Jesus as King, God, and sacrifice. What can we bring the King of Kings? What incense can we offer as priests of our God? How can we recognize the divine sacrifice in our daily lives? So those are questions we can contemplate as we are singing We Three Kings. But I also want to do a second one today because we are at the start of a new year. Immediately the hymn, This is a Day of New Beginnings, came to my mind. Page 383 in our Methodist hymnal. Written by not Christopher Wren, Brian Wren. Brian Wren in 1978, so it's one of the more contemporary hymns in our hymnal. And actually, Brian has more contemporary hymns in our Methodist hymnal than any other writer. This is a day of new beginnings, time to remember and move on, time to believe what love is bringing, laying to rest the pain that's gone. For by the life and death of Jesus, God's mighty Spirit, now as then, can make for us a world of difference as faith and hope are born again. Then let us, with the Spirit's daring to show, step from the past and leave behind our disappointment, guilt, and grieving. And verse 4, Christ is alive and goes before us to show and share what love can do. This is a day of new beginnings. Our God is making all things new. And as we look forward to the rest of 2021, we hope that we are able to put the pandemic behind us and the divisiveness and truly make it a new beginning for all of us. I will now play on the organ, This is a Day of New Beginnings, and then a piano arrangement of We Three Kings.